All right, well, that was fun. Yes, now it's in the event. I can't hear anything through these headphones, so let's see if I can fix that. There we are. Oh, wow, that was ridiculous. First, the camera wouldn't focus, and then I guess I just forgot that it was a two-part process. To go live on Facebook, nowhere else but on Facebook. I do have to go and click another button on the page itself to get the video going. So we're a little late today, but I'm here. I am here. That's the joy of doing these things live, sometimes there's this innate drama that gets built in. I am excited though, because I did notice there is another button on my little phone remote control here that will allow me to see the chat, making it much easier than trying to read from a distance. And I don't know why I didn't notice it before. So the traditional, nope, it only lets me see the Twitch chat. Well, that's not helpful. Yeah, no, very confusing start today, Carwin. Very confusing. But here we are. I can hear myself. You can hear me. You could see me. It's not blurry. It's not even Mercury retrograde yet, folks. I don't know what that's going to be like. I don't know if anybody believes in that anyway. But yeah. Whew. All right. It's funny because it's like the earlier that I set everything up and I think things are going to be like under control, the more things like fall apart at the last minute. So I actually made a theme today. I like doing this in part for my own sanity. I feel like I'm more eloquent when I know what I want to talk about ahead of time. Hello, Julie. Yeah, it's because we're doing the events now. So that's why, there's pros and cons. The events are great because Facebook will actually like remind you and encourage you to hang out with us and join. The downside of that is I then have to just repost the video to my normal Facebook page. So people who maybe didn't see the event won't know about the video. There's not like a natural, I guess, draw. But this is cool because it kind of lets us continue a conversation afterwards, not just in the video itself, but in the group. And oh, you have me on YouTube today too. Yeah, it's been a messy start today. So I am glad that Facebook did at least give you a heads up, especially because it's been so messy today. But it's good to be here. Okay, so today's theme is vision. And I picked this because I was preparing for an interview that I did on Instagram with the Galaxy Man Show. And there were a couple of questions that kind of made me think about it. And one of them was he asked about the inspiration for Loft in Seattle. And then the other one was he kind of asked like what I felt like my purpose was as a musician in these times in particular. And so I feel like the answer to both of those are linked to vision. I feel like Loft in Seattle I wrote because I was just kind of imagining an ideal future, and I was 17 and like that was what I wanted for myself. And part of what I enjoy about continuing to perform that song is even though my vision has changed, as it should as you grow up, as you discover new things that you want, and maybe you get things that you wanted and realize that's not exactly what you wanted, or there's just certain things that you realize aren't as important to you as maybe you thought. So as you get to those places, your vision changes, but it's still, I think, really important to kind of have that capacity to dream, that capacity to envision something for yourself, because it helps you make your decisions. It helps you kind of direct your life towards that. So even though I didn't end up in a loft in Seattle, obviously it's a little out of my price range currently, I did end up making art for a living in this city that I love. So having that dream kind of carried me through many years, and now I get to have new dreams. Gonna switch over to the comments and interaction page to check in on some of you. Tell me about your week. Tell me about the things that you're envisioning for yourself and what you're excited about, what you're drinking, how the goslings are. If you're watching this in the future, it always seems really awkward because it takes a second. I think everybody knows this by now. We've all been attending live streams, right? But it takes a second for my questions to get heard and then responded to. And sometimes there is just awkward silence too. That is part of this art form. But usually there's a response, and it takes longer than I realize often sometimes too. And part of that is because of there's a little bit of a delay in the effort to link up the video and the audio at the same time, which is still imperfect. Again, if you watch this in the future, it's not as awkward as it may look. It is fun, and you should join us. And you should just talk to me constantly, so there is zero silence. It's a little bit like when you're holding a plank. There we go. $10 a day. I misread that initially as 19 hours a day. And I was like, dang, Carwin, 19 hours a day. When do you sleep? 10 hours of a day is also not great. But it is better than 19 hours. I wish that I could get the chat on this remote for Facebook and YouTube. It's really irritating that I can't just look at my phone for this. But whatever. I'm old and my eyes need help. I'm not that old, but I'm old for an internet person, I guess. So let's sing some music, and then we'll come back to your comments. I still want to hear about all the things. I love hearing about you all and what's going on with you. So let's start with Loft in Seattle. Loft in Seattle and spend the rest of my life there with you. We'll beat her poor, but none of that will matter because we'll have the art to get us through. And we'll look down on Puget Sound, and I'll bring you your coffee in bed. And then we'll talk about half-written songs and the latest things that we read. On Sunday evenings I'll kidnap you from your responsibilities and take you out to the mountains. We'll get in touch again, talking like old friends and staring up at the heavens. Together we'll lie our faces turned to the sky and our hearts beating in unison. Then you'll pull close to me and we'll make love gently away from society's delusion. conclusions. We'll get old, maybe even have kids that grow up to be happy and whole. And in our retirement, we'll recall the time we spent in our loft in Seattle. In our loft in Seattle. I love when I'm in the middle of a song and my nose starts to itch. That's just the best. So Julie asks, did you ever think about doing an updated version as a joke or spoof of Loft in Seattle? And yeah, I mean, it would be a good commentary. I feel like the natural updated conclusion to Loft in Seattle is actually a song that you can find on my Instagram Live called Haunted. And so the final Haunted is about a relationship that doesn't work out, and using the metaphor of a house that's haunted. And the final line of that is, a notice on the fence lets the community know the ghosts will be displaced to build another condo, which I feel like is the natural progression of Loft in Seattle. If you are familiar with Seattle, it's pretty common, especially in some of the nicer neighborhoods, or some of the neighborhoods that used to have a lot of culture, to see these older houses getting taken down in order to build something just atrociously ugly. And on the one hand, like, people having places to live is great, and there's a limitation to how many people can live in one house, especially an older house. But there's just something that gets lost. And also, this isn't like something that's happening so that more people have homes. This is 100% a profit thing, you know? So, and that happens in many cities. Even if you're not from Seattle, you've probably run into that. So I guess the natural conclusion of Loft in Seattle would just be like, oh, hey, I'm in my mid-30s and I love what I do, but every man I've been attracted to really needs to work on his communication issues, and I can't afford to live in this city. And that just seems really depressing. I don't know how funny that would be, you know? You know? So. So, going from that very hopeful, like, oh, it's so good to vision, I'm thinking about a lot about how the struggle that's kind of come up in kind of the post-COVID times over the last year in particular. And like I mentioned it around my birthday. Thank you. I mentioned it around my birthday, right? That I was having a hard time setting goals for myself because I had set so many goals before my last birthday, and then really had to pivot because I'm a performer. I do music performance for a living, and so I'm really, really dependent on people's charity kind of right now. And it's really hard to make plans when you're really feeling powerless. But I also think it's really important to kind of have a vision to believe that positive things are going to happen, because first of all, the alternative is going to make you crazy. And because I think that otherwise we get really attached to what we think we know and we don't allow changes to happen, and change has to happen, and positive changes need to happen. So that's kind of why I threw this song Shelter in, because that's something that I wrote right towards the beginning of sheltering in place. And there's just this necessity for, I don't want to say checking out, but kind of checking out. And then the line in the chorus is, this isn't an ending. And the line is, it isn't an ending because it's a beginning. And I think we sometimes forget that beginnings are really chaotic, right? And oftentimes are almost dangerous, you know? Carwin says, it's been a roller coaster year for sure. Yeah. It's hard to know as humans. Obviously, naturally, we want to be able to feel safe all the time, but that's just not possible. And sometimes in our efforts to feel safe all the time, we don't set ourselves up for as good of a life as we can, both personally and socially. So this is Shelter, and I hope you like it. Let me switch to the big screen here. Storm passed through a few days before, leaving every puddle a mirror. Neon shimmers in the streets tonight. The lights are on, but there's no one in sight. Shelter in another world. Bury your worry in the dog-eared pages. Shelter in the arms of a dream. This isn't an ending. This isn't an ending. Keep your distance, 'cause you know I love you. We say with our eyes what our mouths used to palm through the glass of the screen. This isn't an ending. This isn't an ending. Flashback to awkward and 13, spilling my heart to the cursors flashing. Guess I know how to be lonely, just not used to having so much company. Shelter in another world. Bury your worry in the dog-eared pages. Shelter in the arms of a dream. This isn't an ending. This isn't an ending. All you can do is take it day by day. You count down your thoughts as time slips away. But under all, you think you should be there. Wild heart still beats. Shelter in another world. Bury your worry in the dog-eared pages. Shelter in the arms of a dream. This isn't an ending. This isn't an ending. Shelter in another world. Bury your worry in the dog-eared pages. Shelter in the arms of a dream. This isn't an ending. This isn't an ending. This isn't an ending. This isn't an ending. So that was Shelter. Yeah, it's been fun to revisit that song. I wonder how people are gonna react to it in the future. You know, I think it's a beautiful song, so I'm gonna keep singing it. I don't think it's exclusive to that time, but sometimes people respond to music like too soon, as if musicians aren't people who write music to process their own feelings as well. And, you know, I wrote that right away. And I wonder if people are going to be like, oh, you know, if there's going to be an arc, like a story arc of like, oh, this is really pertinent, and then it just like stops being pertinent, or people are like, oh man, we never want to think about that year again, you know? Anyway, especially since it takes so long to put out recorded music, right? It's probably going to be, you know, a year until we have that out somewhere. I just wonder how people are going to respond to it. Yeah, Loft in Seattle is a classic. People really enjoy it. I already performed it. It's been a weird, Lars, it's been a weird performance so far. I had some technical difficulties at the beginning. The camera didn't want to work. Oh my gosh, I want a capo with a bottle opener on it. That's like two of the primary things I always need and never have on me. That's genius. If it didn't cost so much to ship things to New Zealand, or for New Zealanders to ship things here, I'd say send me one. But I'm still trying to get you your shirts, Carwin. Thank you, Julie. I hope so. I hope people will be able to translate it to whatever happens in their life. It's not necessarily meant to be just about that event, but that was how I processed it, of just like, there was a lot of pretty intense grief right at the beginning of everything being shut down. So I needed to process it and write a song about it for myself, and then I ended up liking it. So that's how songs get written, folks. I feel things, and then I write songs about them, and then I decide after the song is written, is this a song I think other people are feeling? Or is this a song that is just for me? Thank you, Carwin. Yeah, that's super exciting. I love the idea of having a bottle opener and a capo. So this last song that I'm going to perform here tonight is an old one. Loft in Seattle is kind of an old one as well. So I'm going to sing the straight route here from my Abby Grace days. And even though this isn't really about vision, I feel like this is just about life. Like, it's a love song, but it's not just a love song, you know? I feel like there's a lot of times where we come back around to people or experiences or desires or events, and it's like, man, I didn't really necessarily intend to be here, but I'm happy that I am here. And the kind of meandering route that I took to get here made it even more worth it. So I'm gonna play that now, and I'll visit with you some more after I'm done. Thank you, David. Yeah, you know what? It was a weird day today, so I feel like a lot of people may have missed some of this set, but you can always catch the replay too. And I do this most Saturdays. I take a break every once in a while just to keep things fresh and to keep it fun for me. I feel like I have more energy if I'm not doing it every single Saturday, but I do it most Saturdays. I generally only skip one Saturday a month, and it's generally around the new moon for reasons. Okay. This is the straight route. Well, I didn't take the straight route, but it brought me back to you, and now I'm stepping out of my ceiling. I'm trying to figure out what to do, 'cause So that's a straight route. I wrote that one, I think right after college, or maybe even in college, about this person who's still a really good friend of mine. And I don't know, every once in a while you just kind of wake up and you're like, whoa, I just didn't even see you that way. And all of a sudden I'm seeing you with these new eyes because of, life, going through things, evolving as people. I love that Carwin is like almost every single show, like, I'm going to learn how to play from this, which, I've set this angle up for you, Carwin. You can now see like my whole hands. You can see the whole guitar now. I don't know. I like the idea of my songs being covered on the other side of the world. Tell everyone, get them here. Let's have a lot of fun. I really want to start having, again, I think I mentioned this before, but I love the idea of having like a featured mocktail that can become a really good cocktail. So I'm going to get on setting that up again in the future. Thank you for joining me this beautiful, rainy Saturday Seattle afternoon for me, and whatever the weather is like, wherever you're at. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. I do these most Saturdays. I will make events, so you'll know with plenty of time in advance. And then you can just join the event and we can chat, afterwards even in those event spaces. So this is really fun. Let's see. Carwin says, thank you. It's fun to play along. David, we'll see you next time. It should be a really enjoyable show. I don't know what my theme is yet, but maybe I'll come up with it after I log off here. I will see you then.